Welcome to Conversations. I'm your host, Emily Rains. Good morning. Thank you for spending some time with us this weekend. Joining me this segment is Lisa Chen of Treehouse. Join us as we look at issues that affect us here at home, in our community, and across the nation. While I was looking for organizations and charities to feature on Conversations, I came across Treehouse, which is an amazing organization that helps kids in foster care right here in the state of Washington. And I dug a little deeper into foster care here in Washington, and I came across some staggering statistics and some things that are obvious, but you might not think about as much. So, for example, each morning, nearly 10,000 children in foster care in the state of Washington wake up to unfamiliar surroundings. So you're thinking, well, great, they're out of harm's way. Well, yes, they're out of harm's way physically and from dangerous neglect, but think about what that does to them emotionally and socially and academically. They're in a new house. There's the trauma of what they just went through. There's the upheaval, maybe new schools, new teachers, new home, new clothes, new bed. Think about when you go on vacation, how disorienting it is to wake up in the hotel. That's what these kids go through and then are expected to go to school and perform just like every other student. Some statistics I found: the average youth in foster care experiences 3 placement changes and 6 months of lost academic progress per move. Children in foster care are 50% less likely to graduate from high school, and 1 in 5 alumni of foster care will be homeless within a year of aging out, which is so sad. But that's where Treehouse comes in, not just academically, but with other needs of those kids in foster care. Lisa Chen is the CEO of Treehouse. Lisa, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Emily.
Of course. I'm excited to get some exposure for your amazing organization you have at Treehouse. For those that don't know what Treehouse is, tell us a little bit about it.
So Treehouse is a statewide organization that serves approximately 8,000 youth across the state, and we provide clothing, financial assistance for education needs, out-of-school needs, holiday gifts, and we have a very strong focus on supporting youth in foster care to graduate from high school and launch successfully into independence as an adult.
And how did Treehouse come about?
Great question, Emily. In 1988, a group of social workers founded Treehouse because they believed that kids in foster care needed a community that was dedicated to their success. A lot of these social workers had previously worked for the state, and they saw what was happening to most of our youth in foster care. So it started small with bake sales and car washes, and these dedicated social workers wanted to provide things that foster families in the state were not able to provide, things like after-school tutoring or summer camps or even birthday gifts or even new clean clothing. And that from there, here we are today as a statewide agency.
And how exactly are you helping these kids? I mean, you mentioned a few things there, but you said specifically getting them to graduate. How do you go about doing that?
So we have a program called Graduation Success, and we provide education specialists who meet with high school students weekly. They help them stay on track to graduate because I'm sure you can remember back in high school, studying wasn't always the first thing on my mind, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And for youth in foster care, they have less supports than you or I might have had when we were growing up. So we empower our students to take charge of their futures by teaching them how to set goals, make plans. We help them learn to advocate for themselves, and we help them realize how much education is really important while supporting them so that they can be successful there. And once you get that, once they graduate, because our goal is to make sure that youth in foster care graduate at the same rates as youth who aren't in foster care, we continue to work with them well into their 20s because, once you graduate high school, even though the law may say you're an adult, I don't know very many 18-year-olds who can now run a household and balance a budget and get a job and all that. So we stick with them through their 20s and make sure that they are capable and successful in launching into their futures.
That is so awesome. What age do you start working with children? Is there a minimum age requirement?
Well, we actually start, you could say that we start when some of them are still in utero, because what we do with our Treehouse Store, which is now statewide instead of just being in King County, what we do is we provide, that store serves I think this year we've already sent out about 4,000 gifts. But we serve the needs of the community, fostering families, foster youth who may find themselves in emergency placements, because sometimes that happens, and infants, for example, so let's say that you volunteered and you are signed up as a foster parent, and the state calls you and says, we have this family of young children, or we have twin babies, can you take them tonight? And you say yes. You could call Treehouse, and in our store, we would give you we have the bottles, the supplies, the everything for infants up through young adults. And that's one of the ways that we serve young people from the time that they're born, because we serve their families that are fostering them. And then that goes straight on up to their 20s. That the store and a program that we have called Just-in-Time Funding provides for needs that arise. For example, rent, or when schools went online, we have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars supporting families and youth with their technology needs. So it starts as early as kids are born.
Well, that leads me into my next question. When there is a child that needs help from Treehouse, how do they go about getting in touch with you?
So there's a number of different ways. To be referred for our services, generally, youth must have an open Department of Children, Youth, and Families case. In other words, that's the agency that oversees foster care in our state. So if they have an open case or a referral from a social worker who works for the state, a tribal case, federal foster care, they can also be in out-of-time care, in kinship care, in group care with another suitable adult, in a shelter. But for the most part, Treehouse takes referrals from existing agencies and social workers. So if you get that referral, we also will do in our intake, we'll also do some interviewing and make sure that youth meet the program-specific requirements that we have to access our services as well.
And I know we have some foster parents listening, so they should contact their social worker that didn't get in touch with you. That's the easiest way?
Yep, and this information is also on our website, treehouseforkids.org. So if they can't get a hold of somebody, they can always check out our website. And I think we've got some email addresses that are up there as well.
Again, if you're just joining us, we're talking to Lisa Chen, CEO of Treehouse. Now, we have to talk about COVID because obviously it's changed a lot of our day-to-day living, and it's changed just from fundraising to anything else. How have you guys been able to adapt, overcome? What have you had to change with your day-to-day at Treehouse?
Oh, that is the question that everybody finds themselves asking during this pandemic. One of the best things that has come out of this is that we have a store that has been based in our King County headquarters that now is statewide. We are shipping things across the state to all the youth that we serve, because we serve the entire state. So previously, it used to be that it was primarily youth in King County who would come in person and shop for free for all of their basic needs. And now we're taking requests all over the state. So we're also continuing to have a limited number of in-person, socially distanced outdoor shopping events for people who are still interested in that. But for the most part, we've shifted that way. We have also responded to the needs that we're hearing from caregivers and youth, social workers, and teachers, because where it used to be focused on things like clothing, personal hygiene, and other things to support our youth, now we've seen the need shift. So it's things for basic needs like food cards or transportation cards, technology for those of our youth who are accessing their classes online. Many of their families don't have the resources to purchase or provide for them the access that they need. So we've pivoted our funding. We've pivoted what we provide to our youth to make sure that we're responding directly to what they need now, and we're also making sure that we are serving across the state. And in addition to that, we're also using technology to reach as many of our youth as we can.
And I think you hinted to this, but you have this amazing store, and it is free to those that qualify.
Yes, that's exactly right. It is free. We're very blessed to have In a non-COVID year, about 3,000 volunteers, and many of them come and work in the store and help us meet orders and sort the very generous donations that we get. We're cautiously open now for more people to volunteer in the store to help us in a socially distanced way to process all of the brand new clothing donations we're still getting.
When it comes to donations, what exactly are you looking for? Is there a list that people can go online and find? You obviously said no used clothing, so new clothing only when it comes to that.
Correct, because it's very important that our families and our youth have the same dignity that you or I would have if we were going to walk into a downtown store and go shopping. Mm-hmm. So that's the experience that our store provides. So what we are asking of our community, which is incredibly generous and has been over 30 years, is to conduct some virtual drives for us, because we still need, you can imagine, the need for goods and services for our young people is greater than it's ever been. So on our website, we've got a lot of information about how to conduct a drive for us, a clothing drive, or you can also take a look at our wish list and purchase some of the items directly there, because they will go directly into the hands of a youth in foster care or a fostering family. And then, of course, the cash donations help us, because, again, this year we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on things like food and technology and transportation for our young people.
And what is that website for those wanting to help?
So our website is treehouseforkids.org.
Is there anything else, Lisa, that you can think of that we haven't covered that you want people to know about Treehouse? One more thing. If you have time on your hands and you'd like to volunteer, in addition to some limited slots in the store, we launched a virtual tutoring program because we found that many of our youth have fallen behind in their studies, which is true of non-foster care youth as well. So we have a special need for volunteers who are fluent in Spanish, French, or Tigrinya, which is a language that's spoken in Ethiopia and Eritrea. So if you have any kind of tutoring experience or are interested in this, again, you can check out our website, treehouseforkids.org, and we're especially looking for people of color to support our youth at this time. Well, Lisa, thank you again for joining us this morning and for all that you do and all that Treehouse does for those kids in foster care in our state.
And thank you, Emily, for all your support and for featuring us today. Very much appreciate it.
Of course. And thank you for listening this morning. Conversations is a public affairs program of this station.